communications throughout human history. We see the curves, the spectacular curves that occur when we reach the stage where the smartphone devices and all the social networks appear. And here we have the most important mobile phones, smart books, Facebook, etc. The older people and the ICTs. We are not going to speak here about the configuration of the great different groups of people with disability, but the social success that living longer represents, the demographic change, which was unknown so far. We are going to see in the next few years 4 generations living at the same time. This is going to be natural. It's going to be normal. And in this process, we tend to forget that never before young generations would transfer knowledge to the older generation. And we see that this is now happening, these intergeneral interactions which are happening continuously in knowledge transfer of knowledge between the younger and the older is something disruptive. So how can we combine the experience of the older generation with the innate knowledge of the young is something which is exciting, very exciting. It is a world where we need to see how we are going to approach this new way of creating new services for a new era. And we will be dealing with this in my presentation. So we are here to speak about social networks. Some 2 or 3 months ago, the CERMI in Spain denounced or publicly denounced or stated his interest that social networks be made accessible to all. There's limits of accessibility in social networks, especially with the visually impaired, but not only with that group. And we have been trying to break that barrier by making social networks accessible. So we try to bring the wall down with our partner Almira Lax, which is an application developer, a technology developer, and they have suggested a service to us called Voice Social, so that anybody can post on his Facebook wall any information, any news, any contents using his or her voice, so that when you register for this service, the service identifies a phone number that the sender will be using to send a message to his wall. This number is automatically recognized. It is associated to the user's login and password, so that when you make a phone call, automatically an answering service is triggered, which then receives a message. It makes sure that you have recorded it well. You can listen to it again in case you want to change it, and then it is posted onto your wall in 2 different ways. I'm skipping all this. So this would be more or less how it works. So it is posted in 2 ways, as I was saying, as voice in MP3, or this very voice message is then translated and posted as text, as a text message. So this is the great contribution that we would like to make to this conference, and we can show it to you later on if we have time, how to post some messages on Facebook through this system. And the support technology is Nuance, and it's the one that we use for this. As another contribution, we are actively participating in fostering a social work for people who are not natives, who have the need to share information experience in a less compulsive way, to put it that way. It is this Post 55, a social network which we believe can be used by people who are using social networks in a different way. And it is our contribution to help break the digital gap, or fill the digital gap that exists in many social networks. So this is the way in which we work, by fostering inclusion. How can we make sure that communications? See, I was going to propose something to David, who is here with us today, and I was going to suggest that the new technologies are changing the way that we all communicate. This is something that I really like. Instead of RT for all, we should call it DRT for you, because accessibility for all is now becoming a tailor-made service, so that in the field of applications, we are now moving towards a situation where we can have whatever is most important to us. And that is a kind of friend that we have in our pocket, a friend that we can tailor make based on different applications. If, for example, I'm visually impaired, I can have a friend who will translate texts to voice. I can also have an application which will translate for me voice through an avatar in sign language, as our colleagues are doing here. We could also have a localization services for accessible sites, which are perfectly depicted with GPS, showing me the route for different accessible sites based on my own preferences, so that today, with the technology that we have available, we can all have a device, a friendly device, so that every time we need to use it, we can access a friendly environment, an intuitive environment, an environment which is easy to use, well adapted to our needs. Yesterday, we saw in Reddy's conference how banks are working on this idea, so that automatic ATMs will not have to be tailor-made, because the personal interface will be your own mobile phone. That mobile phone which you have adapted to your way of interacting will be the one that will communicate with the ATM. We are therefore introducing ourselves in a very exciting environment, and I'd like to encourage you all to really focus on these themes, the themes that are being developed in this conference, and I hope that with your help we will all be able to create a better communicated world, something more intuitive and friendly. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm now going to give the floor to the other panel members. Alaya.
Puesto en aquí no. Aqui.